to another episode of We Just Wanna. I'm Donna.
I'm Carol.
And I'm Liana.
Woo-hoo. All right, guys. So as you know, we have a lot of topics that we always go through the last few episodes. So today's episode, we're actually doing about careers. As some of you guys all know, the three of us, we are about 2-3 years post-college. You know, we're going head start in our careers, and we just want to kind of put ourselves in the perspective of what it's like to be in the workforce for so many years. So I'm going to let Liana go ahead and introduce her host.
Exactly. So we have a special co-host today, and her name is Lauren Fernandez. I actually had the privilege of meeting her during my internship at SAP and worked very closely with her under her guidance for about 2 years. She's currently a senior manager at Flexport, but without further ado, Lauren, if you want to come on and introduce yourself to our audience.
Sure. Hey, everybody. Nice to meet you all, and I'm excited to be a part of this conversation. I have a lot of great advice just for people starting out in their career, so I'm excited to talk about it.
So happy to have you
Welcome.
Thanks.
So, yeah, Lauren, I guess we could kind of begin, and I have a question for you. Let's just say, as Donna said, we've had some experience under our belts, but we're still very young in the workforce. What's one advice that you might kind of give to yourself when you were at our stage?
Great question. So, and I was thinking about this the other day, and I still do this to this day, is constantly learning. Just because you graduated from university does not mean that you're done learning. I have some friends that will tell me, well, I've already gotten my undergrad. I've already gotten my master's. I'm done. I know everything I need to know in my career, but in actuality, I'm reading all the time. I'm reading blogs, I'm watching YouTube videos to get even more expertise in my area of expertise, which is learning and development.
Right. Yeah. So just a disclaimer, we actually worked in the learning and development sector in SAP. So constant learning is what Lauren totally instilled in me when I was her intern. But yeah, Carol, Donna, did you guys have anything to add on?
Can I get kind of like your back history, how you got into like career development or learning and development?
Totally. Yeah. So my career path was not linear. It kind of looked like a little bit of a couple side steps, maybe some zigzags. So it almost looked like a dance routine, but maybe after a couple of drinks. And I interned at KPMG in undergrad. So I studied economics with an emphasis in business. And I interned at one of the big four called KPMG in their audit group. So I was in the accounting world. And I just, in my internship, it was over the summer, I had this experience where my manager, and she was such a great mentor, and she didn't mean to say this to be rude, but one day we're at a client site, we're in this conference room poring over our client's financial statements, and she leans over the table and she says, "You don't belong here." But not in a mean way. She said it because she was trying to help me. And she said, "You're a people person. You know, you shouldn't be in this world of accounting." Not that it's a bad career path, but she just saw more in me, maybe focused on, she gave me suggestions, go into marketing, go into HR. But she said, "This is not the right career path for you." Mm-hmm. And that was such a instrumental moment in my career. I remember after that day, I was like, wow, first, thank you for your honesty, mentor and manager at the time. And secondly, at the end of that summer, I was offered a job. It was, I think it was actually junior year. This is when the accounting firms are really like trying to get people in and work for them right after university. And they offered me a job, and I said, "No, thank you. It's not for me." And after that, I said, you know what? Instead of following this path of, okay, you have to know what your job is right after university, you have to know what your career path is, I said, you know what? Screw that. I want my career path to be exploratory. And I want to try a lot of different things because ultimately what I do want to land at is what I love and what I'm passionate in. And so after I worked in accounting, I did a stint in public relations. I worked at a PR firm, a big PR firm here in San Francisco. Then I did marketing at a small IT consulting firm. And every step and every job I had, I learned more and more about myself and more about what is the value that I bring to a company? What am I really good at? And what am I super passionate about? What do I get excited to wake up every day to do? And how I landed in L&D was actually accidental. I didn't even know what L&D was. My boss, I was working at this media company at the time, and my boss was amazing. She worked out of our London office. And she said, this is a good company, but it's small. There isn't a lot of career development opportunities for you to work your way up. But one of my friends posted a job for a training coordinator. And it's this company called Success Factors. I don't even know what it is, but I know this person. We used to work at HP together. You should apply. So I applied for the job, and I absolutely fell in love, not with the company in the interview, because I didn't know much about HR software, not with the job necessarily, because I didn't really know what L&D was, but it sounded cool. But it was these amazing female leaders that I got to meet in my interview, and just the way that they made me feel. I felt like I belonged, I felt included, I felt intelligent. And I thought, well, hey, if this training coordinator stint doesn't work out, I know dang sure that I'm going to learn a lot from these female leaders, if anything. Mm-hmm. And so that's how I ended up in L&D. So I started at the very bottom. I was a training coordinator. I had my little beat up Honda that I was driving around to our different training sites, and I'd get there at 6 a.m. and I'd put all the training books on all the tables. And I just loved it. I learned a lot about L&D just from that very first experience. And then I just thought, okay, this is where I belong. Like, it has to do with helping people. It has to do with learning. It has to do with developing yourself, both professionally and personally. And that's how I stumbled into this whole world that I'm in now.
That's pretty cool how just like that one person kind of pushed you out of what you're supposed to be and kind of made your way through that. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Lauren, I had a question. At what age was that transition from the media company to L&D?
Oh my gosh. Great question. I was 27.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
I was
turning 27 this year.
I was 27.
That's crazy.
So that's why when a lot of folks, I love mentoring, early talents in the workforce, or, new to career, if you will, or even students still in university. I love mentoring them. And a lot of times I notice that they put a lot of pressure on themselves. Like, I have to know what I want to do for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And the world has changed so much. And a lot of this has been sparked from technology, has been sparked from Google and Facebook and Twitter and all these platforms now, that it's created just more and more opportunity for people, and more opportunity for you to really explore and find the career that you love versus, feel so stressed out about, okay, I'm in university now, I have to know what I want to do for my career path. Because you can have multiple career paths in your career, in your life.
Yeah, I totally felt that pressure for sure when I was, graduating from college. It's like, am I even doing this right? And there's so much pressure. And I think the advice of like, follow your passion is a little bit outdated. It's more like follow your curiosities. Because Lauren, like you said, like, it just, whatever sparked your interest, go and explore it, especially at this point in time, because I don't think we have that much responsibility tied down. I know I don't have a mortgage. I don't have a family to take care of. So what is a better time than now to just try something new and keep exploring? Yeah, so I totally agree with that.
Absolutely. And take risks. The best time to take risks is in your 20s, Liana, like you said, when you don't have a mortgage, when you don't have kids or any other responsibilities. So this is the best time to try anything that is of interest to you. And that's why I said earlier, you know, being a continuous learner is super important, because in my 20s, the more I read, the more I explored different industries, the more it helped me fine tune where I want to go, what excites me. And that's ultimately how I ended up in L&D. But I think being a continuous learner is really helpful.
And Lauren, I know for sure, like I kind of, sometimes I get scared to fail too, though. Like, I'm not gonna diminish the fact that it can be scary too, to kind of go against the norm or go against expectations. Do you have anything to say to that?
Yeah. Okay. Failing is scary. Failing is not that warm, fuzzy feeling that you get when you like are top performer. Failing is the outcome of you taking a risk, and maybe things didn't align as you thought, and that's okay. I will say getting used to failing all the time is going to be really critical in finding your ultimate career path. I mean, I felt like a lot of the jobs that I was not forcing myself to do, but I felt like I was trying to put myself in a box that I didn't fit. So in marketing, I felt that way. Working in accounting, I felt that way. And it was, honestly, I felt like I was constantly failing because there were other people that were better at it than me. But I had to shift the narrative that was happening and that inner voice in my head of, I'm not failing, I'm taking a risk, and maybe it's not working out, but maybe that's okay, because then it allows me to see what other career path might be better for me, where I'm not failing as much. But I will say, and it's funny that you asked me about failure, not that I guess it's also, how do you define failure? Like, what does that look like? Because for each of us, failure looks different. Sometimes your failure might, to me, be like a mini mistake. In my failure, I might feel like, oh my gosh, the world is going to end. Like, this is big. But then Liana, you might be like, Lauren, that's not a big deal. You know, to brush it off, keep going.
Right.
I will say, I was reflecting on this morning. One of my development opportunities for myself is to get better at becoming a overall strategic thinker. Strategy and writing strategy documents is not something that I'm an expert at yet. So a lot of times when I take a risk and I start writing, strategy documents for the work I'm doing for my team, and maybe it's not quite hitting the mark, that also, I guess you could categorize as a mini failure. But I will tell you, the more risks I take with trying things that maybe I'm not so great at, or things that I've never done, I learn exponentially faster, and I get better and better and better time over time. So I'd say, yes, failure is scary, but man, failing is also really fun, because you learn so much, and you learn it faster than if you were to just take the easy, smooth cruise ride, throughout your life. So I just say, change the narrative in your head on what failure means to you, and spin it and say, well, maybe it's not failure. Maybe it's a learning opportunity, or maybe it's an eye-opening opportunity for me to realize, hey, maybe this is not the job for me, or maybe this is not the career for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's so important of what you tell yourself.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on people that want to make a career change, but either think they're too late in the game, or maybe they may not have the skill sets to move into that new career that they're interested in?
Great question. So I have some advice for those that are looking to make this career shift. First off is shadow and talk to people in the career that you want. Because we might see this beautiful, shiny career that we're like, wow, that looks great. But we might not know the ins and outs of somebody in that career in the day-to-day. So my first recommendation is find people that has the career that have the career that you want, and ask them, what does your day-to-day look like? What does your week look like? What do you love about your job? What do you not like about your job? And talk to as many people as you can. So A would be talk to people in that career. Secondly, shadow them. If they're open to it, shadow that person. Maybe it's for a day, maybe it's for a couple of meetings, to really get a sense of, can you see yourself in that role? So that's first off. It's like, just do the research. Now, if you're like, wow, okay, that is the job and the career that I want, then the next step is, okay, well, what are the skills that I need? So, and part of when you talk to the people in that career, ask them, what are the top skills that someone would need in this role? Is it negotiation skills? Is it communication skills? Is it project management skills? Whatever it is. Maybe it's maybe they have to know SQL or Python. Maybe it's, a development type role. Then make a list of, okay, here's all the skills I have. Do I have any of the skills that this career requires already? Okay. If I don't, the skills that I still need, how do I build those skills? Maybe it's taking a course online. Maybe it's another suggestion I have with a lot of early in career folks is, when you shadow someone, ask them, is there a project that I can help you with? So maybe take on a project to help you build the missing skills that you still need for that career. So step one, do the research. Step two, identify what the skills are and build the skills out. And then step three, Carol, you make a great point when you ask about salary. Well, I don't want to start from the bottom. So there's a couple of ways to go about this. So A, sometimes you got to start from the bottom. Like, I can't be a lawyer tomorrow, even if I want to pull up Kim Kardashian and say, I want to be in the whole legal field. I mean, she's even going to law school. I mean, she's even reading the law books to learn about the craft of being a lawyer. Mm-hmm. So sometimes you got to start from the bottom. Now, there are other careers where you might not have to start from the bottom, because you might have some transferable skills. So skills that you've had in your other jobs that transfer to that new career path that you want to go to. And also, if you're able to teach yourself those skills, you might actually be able to start at a higher level than at the bottom. Now, the other option too is networking is crucial. Networking your entire career, your entire life is crucial. So if you start to network with people in this industry and this career path that you want to go in, that also might help and give you a better opportunity to not start at the very bottom. But it really depends on the type of job that you would like to do. And another suggestion I have too, and I'm actually interested in this myself, is if you have, I'm trying to think of a great example here for a career path. Let's just say, okay, let's say I am like, you know what? I want to become a financial advisor. That's so interesting to me. So there are certifications to be a financial advisor. A lot of financial advisors actually, work at the Charles Schwabs of the world. What you could do is you could say, you know what? I don't want to work for someone else. I want to get all my certifications. I'm going to learn the craft of being a financial advisor, and I'm actually going to start my own business. So there's another opportunity. Again, this really depends on what the role and the career is that you want. But there's another opportunity where you cut out the corporation altogether and you say, I'm going to do this on my own, and I'm going to start my own small business. And then from there, you technically start at the top because now you're the CEO.
Self-promotion.
That's a good
people.
point.
Well, so Lauren, I guess we're kind of on the topic of network, right? And I
Yes.
do consider you as one of my mentors as well as sponsors, actually. So, for example, I started off as an intern, but I had to kind of work my way up to a full-time position, and you advocated for me during that transition. So I found that to be really useful to kind of know the difference between the mentors in my career and the sponsors or advocates as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I do sometimes I still have a hard time identifying those people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so could you speak more on that?
Sure. Okay, so let's talk about mentors first. Mentors, everyone needs a couple of mentors. And mentors are somebody that if you want to learn about a specific topic, having a mentor in that particular topic will be very crucial for you to not only learn more about that topic, but also grow your skill set as well. So for example, if you want to become a project manager, or maybe you're already a project manager, but you want to run a project management office of other project managers globally, then you would find somebody that runs a project management office today or a team of project managers, and you would learn from them on how they got to where they are today. So that's what's good about mentors. I have mentors that are really focused in the learning and development space. I have mentors that are focused in the legal space. I have mentors in the financial arena. And these are like the people, my life gurus, if you will. These are the people that I go to for specific questions of the areas that I want to learn more about. And I leverage their expertise. Now, a sponsor or an advocate, these are really interesting people, and they don't have to be C-level executives, although a lot of sponsors or advocates could be at companies. But these are people that bring you up, they pull you up, and they give you the stretch projects, the strategic projects. They help promote you. They give you visibility within your organization, within your team, and they really help to pull you up very, very fast. So having a sponsor / advocate is also very helpful as well, along with sponsors. I feel like, or mentors, I feel like both go together hand in hand. So you need someone to push you and challenge you and give you visibility into other teams and other executives. That's your sponsor, that's your advocate. You need a list of mentors to help you build your skill set, and that's your mentor group.
Got it. Yeah, you're both for me, so thank you.
How important do you think is to have people that look like you or kind of represent you be that mentor for you? Does that play a big part to who you are today?
Ooh, that is a really good question. I would say I've been in tech for a long time. I haven't met a lot of Mexican females in tech. Mm-hmm. I also haven't met as many Latinas in tech. I also have not met I've met some females in tech, but we got to get even more women into tech in general. So I didn't think about what someone, if I could relate to someone as having them be my mentor. It was more about what they could offer me and what value they could bring to the table and what their experience is. And I would look at that and say, I want to learn more about that. Mm-hmm. However, with that being said, I do have, in the learning development space, I do have a lot of female mentors in that space. So I have found that to be really interesting and very helpful in asking them, as a female, how do you navigate this primarily dominant male world in the tech company? How do you speak to the business leaders that a lot of times are mostly guys? So that actually has been very helpful for me. Going forward, I would actually love to have people that don't look like me, that don't come from my same background, because I notice that that brings different perspectives. And I love having different perspectives. I mean, when I look at my friend group and the people that I, am in contact with, even my network, I mean, we look like the Skittles package. I mean, we're like all the colors in the rainbow and then some. All walks of life, different experiences, and that as well has been very helpful for me as too, because I do notice that, and I know that you gals are from a fraternity, and I think having that network is great, but I also think expanding that network of people outside of your fraternity, or if you're in another university group that you've all stayed connected with after university, I think that's awesome, but also expanding past that is also beneficial too.
It's kind of, sometimes I kind of think to myself, like, I don't see enough Asian representation, but I try not to limit that and set a belief of myself that I'm not capable of being there if I want to. So I try to like look past beyond that and just kind of work on myself instead. But yeah, I don't know.
And you never know if you're going to be that first Asian American woman in like a C-level suite executive position.
Yay!
Like if you aim for that as your goal, then like you don't really need to have mentors that are already like Asian American or female, as long as you like can envision yourself that way and have those people to back you up.
Mm-hmm.
So,
absolutely. Yeah. And sometimes
never say never.
Never say never. And sometimes you have to say, you know what? I just remember when I was younger, I would go to town halls at companies and it was all men. A lot of it was white men, and they were very old. And I was looking at them thinking, I'd love to be an executive someday, but gosh darn, I don't look like any of those people up there. And so, Carol, to your point, you have a great point, is sometimes you have to be like, well, I'm going to carve out my own path to get there. Like, I don't care if no one looks like me. Soon someone is going to look like me and I'm going to be up there. And then now other people will see people that look like them or that they relate to.
Yeah.
Exactly. I have another question. It's more related to, thinking about like, when is it time to take that next step, whether it's, moving on to another company or the career change that we were talking about earlier. Like when is it time internally where it's like, it's time for that next step, you think?
Yeah. So a couple of things. I don't like to be comfortable for an extended period of time, meaning that when I start getting comfortable, it's danger zone for me. Because what happens to me personally is, I'm comfortable. I know what I have to do every day. I could do it with my eyes closed. I could do it upside down. I could do it on a plane, doesn't matter. I'm good with my career and my job. But then what ends up happening for me, and I don't know if this happens to you girls as well, but then I start getting complacent. And that is real danger zone. And it's a danger zone because, not to get too philosophical, but I have two of my grandparents are still alive. They're in their 90s. And they tell me that life is like a blink. In the blink of an eye, you will be, I mean, obviously this is very dramatic. It's not like you'll be 90, but it goes by fast is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
And so I keep thinking about that in my head. Life is too short. Life goes by quickly. I never want to be in a job where I get to the point where it's so easy and I stop growing. And worse, I become complacent. So when I start to feel comfortable, it's okay to feel comfortable, you know, in ebbs and flows. Because obviously, if you're overstretching yourself and you're challenging yourself every day, every moment, that could also lead to burnout. So there's that balance. But for me, it's okay, having a good balance of knowing what I'm doing in my job, but also challenging myself. That's a great mix. Like a 70% knowing what I'm doing in my job and feeling comfortable, maybe a 30% of challenging myself and growing my skill set. If that balance starts to shift and I start getting comfortable, that's when I say, all right, it's time to start planning my next move. And it's time to start planning my next move in that, what is going to be even more challenging? What is a job? So I start to look at job descriptions and I start to find jobs that are maybe bigger in scope, that seem more challenging. And maybe I don't have all the skills or all the experience yet, but that's when I start to think, okay, that's where I want to go. That's my goalpost. So it's really that internal feeling of, am I too comfortable? Am I starting to get complacent? If so, then it's time to move on.
Yeah. Lauren, I know that sometimes I remember this advice that you gave me, which was like,
Uh-oh.
oh,
I hope it was good.
So what was it? Okay, so like I remember I kind of went to you and I was kind of juggling two decisions of like, do I go for the bigger salary or do I go for this job where it offered the most growth? And you told me the salary will come later. Trust me, just go for the one with the most growth.
Yes.
So yeah, I think that kind of correlated to what you just said, which is growth is not comfortable either. Just a heads up, guys. But that's okay.
And you know, so speaking of when I got into L&D at 27, the job, so I was at the lowest on the totem pole in the whole organization that I worked in. I was the youngest. I was the coordinator position. And I, in a sense, started over. And so what happened was my salary wasn't that great. And I remember actually, I was at some sort of external meeting, and there was a guy there that I used to intern with at the accounting firm. And I remember he said, oh, I make blah, 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 blah money a year. And I'm pulling in so much money. And then he asked me, how are you doing? And I said, oh, I'm doing great. And I love my job and I'm learning a lot. And after that experience, I thought, man, and I remember after he told me how much he made, which was substantially more than me at the time, he was also saying, well, I am stressed. I don't sleep a lot. I'm traveling all the time. And I don't really have time to even spend my money or do anything fun. And I thought, you know what? I'd rather find a job that I love and that I'm happy and I'm growing my skill set. And maybe I started at the bottom of the totem pole in L&D, taking that job at 27. But I mean, gosh darn, I was much happier than my other colleague who stayed. And maybe that was the right career path for him, but you know, I don't know what his situation was at the time, but it just made me feel like I didn't go after the money. If I would have gone after the money, I would have just said, I'm going to stay in accounting for my whole career. And I would have been in a different financial position at 27. But instead, I focused on, what do I love to do? What am I passionate about? What am I curious about? And yeah, I did take a bit of a pay cut. But also what ended up happening was I started at the bottom of the totem pole, and my manager and the leader of the organization was like, wow, you're capable of more than what you're just doing. And I was able to move up a lot faster because they noticed that I had a lot of transferable skills, even though I didn't work in L&D, but I had a lot of transferable skills at other companies I'd worked at. And so I was able to get promoted a lot faster. But yes, it is about, don't follow the money. It'll come. Follow what you love to do and where you can build your skill set fast.
Right.
Do you have any like lessons that on what things you could have done differently in your 20s? I know that you saying that you started at 27, and some people are looking at like 27 is too old, too young. Like, what are the things you would have done differently?
Yeah, definitely. And I have to focus on this even today. So there's this culture now that it's a Netflix and chill culture. It's
Perhaps.
spend hours binging, spend hours online scrolling through, looking at your DMs and all that, right? And I would say if I were to give my younger self some advice today, obviously it's good to relax and take some time for yourself, whatever that looks like. Could be on Netflix, could be whatever. But I would say read more and get exposure to more things and grow your skill set. Because I have a lot of, even to this day, I have that internal fight with myself of, man, I'd love to just sit and lounge and watch Netflix all day. But then I look at, okay, what's the payoff? If I do that every day after work, every weekend, sure, maybe, 10 years down the road, I can say, hey, I can recite every line of Walking Dead and I know every character on blah, blah, blah show.
Mm-hmm.
And that's great. But if I were to spend more of my time reading and learning new things and growing my skill set, the payoff in the long term is much greater. It's progress in my career faster. It's get more opportunities. It's make more money. It's, a whole slew. I mean, depends on what you are looking to learn, but it's a whole slew of advantages versus the Netflix and chill all the time and not really invest in yourself.
Yeah. So pats on us, guys, for doing this podcast because we could have been watching Walking Dead right now.
I know, but this is cool though. Like this is cool. I mean, you are all really focused on what your passion is, and you are spending your time, which I'm sure it's hours of interviewing people and editing videos and editing audio, but the long term is huge for you just by doing this. It's putting it on your resume. It's showing people that you have all these other skills, whether it's video editing or audio editing or SEO on YouTube or whatever it is. I mean, this is props to you all.
We just wanna.
It literally started off by just being bored during quarantine. It's like, oh, since we already have conversations, like let's put it on a podcast.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why not?
So I guess I have one last question for the sake of time, but I want to get a little bit specific because I think the underlying thread here is also self-knowledge and what you're passionate about. So for example, at work, I actually came across this tool called DISC, which is a workplace assessment tool. And it tells me about my personality at work, how I collaborate with people, what my style of communication is. So it's really, really useful and I recommend it to everybody. But do you guys have any tools that you've came across that might be useful for our listeners?
Yeah, a lot. So a couple of things I'm interested in or have been interested in for a long time. Obviously, there's my career in the L&D specific topics, right? But if you're not in that area, some more general tools that I use is I want to be better in my financial acumen and really understanding not only on the business side, but also on my personal finance arena, if you will. And so I bought this book called Stock Buying for Dummies. And it's in the For Dummies book set. So it's a whole series, if you will, of all these different topics. And I thought, okay, gosh darn, no one taught me about stocks. No one taught me about any sort of short or long-term investing. So I bought that book and I highlighted almost every page. And then from my highlights, I created the little note cards to study. And I taught myself how to invest in stocks. And from there, I've been, just building more understanding of long-term investing. What are some of those approaches, how to save, what tools I can use. So not only is it about developing your career and, having a career in whatever you're passionate about, but the other side of it is saving the money that you've made in your career so that you have more of that long-term plan for yourself and that nest egg. Because money is a tool. It's not the end all be all, but it's a tool to do a lot of cool stuff, whether it's travel, whether it's buy a house, whether it's help support your family, whether it's go back to school. So I would say for dummies books and any type of topic, super helpful. Yeah. I watch a ton of YouTube videos on real estate just to understand the real estate market and all the lingo and what's happening. So that's another area that I use as well. And then Udemy I really like their platform, and they have tons of different courses that are really inexpensive. And I've taken a lot of courses on Udemy as well.
Yeah. So Carol, I know you mentioned we might want to do an episode on financial literacy, but I am a dummy, so we'll start from the beginning.
I think we're all dummies in that space for sure, no matter how much we read. Yeah. I'm still learning to this day on that too.
I know, but it's true. We should all have some security and nest egg stored somewhere.
No, I'm definitely interested in getting the book that you just mentioned, the investing one, because I've been interested in investing for a while, but never really learned from like start to finish or like the deep dive.
Yeah, for sure. And actually, there's a YouTube channel called The Financial Diet, and it's run by two women.
I follow their Instagram.
I love them.
Okay, their episodes on YouTube are awesome. And they had one gal that they were interviewing to talk about investing. So if you don't want to read the 200-page book, even just watching those videos that they do is really, really helpful too.
Yeah, they have a website too, and their blogs are really helpful. Yeah, I love them.
I love them too.
Yes, highly, highly recommend.
For sure.
What other sources of motivation are you using to further your career?
Oh, sources of motivation. Wow. Talking to my mentors. So I'm consistently connecting with my mentors. Not obviously every day, but on maybe a monthly to quarterly basis. I read a lot of stories on LinkedIn, which are inspiring to me of what's happening just in different industries. What's also helpful and motivating is just to surround yourself by people that have a like mindset as you. So I've noticed just organically, some of the friends that I went to university with have just dropped out of my overall friend circle because I realized that, maybe our values at this point in our lives are not aligned anymore. And so the friends that I do have in my circle are very much similar in mindset to me, in that they want to always evolve as humans and develop themselves and, get the most out of their careers. So that's also very motivating too.
Okay, so I think we reached that point in our episode, guys, for a fun fact. So Lauren, we actually always end our episodes with a silly fact or something that might interest our listeners.
May not be silly sometimes. Sometimes it's very interesting.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess it's my turn this week. I don't know if you guys are interested in the universe, but do you guys know what our cosmic address is?
No. What is it?
Is that what our stars are, or no?
No, like literally, let's say an alien wants to visit you from space. What address do you give them? Okay, so this is what you give them. So first you start with your postal address, right? So let's say I'm like in California, Milpitas, and then with the country code. And then you go expand, it's Earth. And then it's the solar system. And then it's the Orion arm. And then it's the Milky Way. After the Milky Way, it's called the local group. After that, it's called Virgo cluster. And after that, it's called local supercluster. And then lastly, it's the universe.
That's where the aliens are.
Yeah, let's go.
So where would you write that? How would you write that as a postal address?
Like, you put, it's like lines on lines on lines.
Like 1, 2, 3, 4,
Oh.
California.
So how many lines is that? Is
Yeah.
that like 10 lines?
I think it's 8. It's, the universe is big, y'all. It's
So
not
you'll
tiny.
start from like your normal address, so like your name, your address, your city, state, postal code,
Yeah.
and all those things you just
Dun, dun,
listed.
dun, dun. Milky Way, dun, dun, dun.
And
Universe,
then
dun, dun, dun.
Milky Way.
Virgo cluster and then local supercluster and yeah. Okay. Sorry, that's the nerdy
Oh.
me.
I guess when we see that on an envelope, we know it's from an alien.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's just a postcard from Liana.
We'll know which one's from her.
Yeah.
That's a higher possibility. But
Speaking of fun fact, so scientists did this experiment where they basically looked at light, okay? And how they looked at light was they took a light laser and they put it through a slit, any sort of slit on like a wall or whatever, and the light would go through the slit and it would hit the back wall, okay?
Mhm.
So these scientists were like, wow, that's really interesting. So they just wanted to see the light at the back of the wall. When it went through the slit, does it stay vertical? Or does it, render in any way or change shape in any way? So they observed it and they said, okay, here's the slits. And I think they had multiple slits that they would push the light through. So after they stopped observing it, here's something really interesting. So they had the experiment equipment still running. So they stopped observing the light. And when they stopped observing the light, it actually ended up looking like waves.
What?
On the back wall.
How?
Okay, I need to find the name of this experiment, but basically it what they were trying to prove is when you observe something, what does it look like? And when you stop observing something, does it change shape? Does it change how it looks?
Oh, because you were trying too hard to see something, what you thought is supposed to happen, and then when you're not really overthinking it,
Well,
It's like a psychological experiment at the same time.
Yeah. It sounds like those books where you like stare long enough, then it'll start to like move, or those kind of books.
Yes.
My roommate has those kind of books.
Yeah, but the weird thing is we all will see the slit of light. We'll all see it the same way.
Right.
So when it's actually observed, we'll all say, oh yeah, that's a slit of light on the back wall. And then if we don't look at it, it changes shape.
So how would you know that it changes if you're not looking at
So
it?
they were able to, with their equipment, whatever they were using was still on and recording, but just humans were not observing it.
Oh, it doesn't like the human eyes.
Yeah.
Okay, but doesn't that blow your mind?
It freaks me out.
Yeah.
Why? Just because
No, it just sounds trippy, like just to think how
Yeah.
Okay, this is what it's called. I found the name. It's called the Xeno effect. Atoms won't move when they're being watched.
Whoa.
Oh, I love that fact.
Doesn't that blow your mind?
Yes.
I'm just like, what does this mean? It's almost like that question of if a tree falls in the forest but no one sees it, did it actually fall?
Yeah, I've heard that question, but my answer is always yes, because it's fall in. Of course it fell. Right? I don't know.
That's nature. That's
That's
nature.
nature.
I'll send you all I'll send you this this explanation of it, because it's definitely done it way more than it's explained it way better than I explained it. But when I read that, I was like, what? Because quantum physics is like a whole nother
Yeah, don't ask me.
realm. It's like a whole nother, and there are some things that we're like cannot explain.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's kind of insane.
Yeah. Oh, crazy.
Well, for those who are interested, we'll link that in our YouTube video.
Yeah, you should. And actually, there's a book. I haven't started reading it, but it's called How to Teach Quantum Physics to Your Dog. And so the book is like a super easy way to explain quantum physics concepts.
So y'all, if you don't get it, what does that say about us? Okay, cool. Okay, so we'll wrap this up here. So make sure you check us out every Wednesday and talk to you soon.
We just want a Wednesdays.
Bye, guys.
Oh, thank you, Lauren.
Thanks, Lauren.
Bye, guys.